So this video is all about how food is processed in the body and the roles of fat, carbohydrates and protein. What's important, what's not. So a lot of people kind of want to stay away from carbs, want to do low fat, and then don't really understand protein. So I'm going to go through each one, explain their role and how it works in the body, and obviously why it's important to have a varied diet of all three and not to cut any out. So we'll start with the top one, which is TEF, so thermic effect of feeding. So that's how many calories it takes to break down. So for fat, it's 5 to 10% of the calories. So out of 100 calories of fat, it's only going to take probably about 5 to 10 of those calories. The reason being, it's very easily converted to body fat. It's the closest thing to body fat, so the body doesn't really have to do a lot of processing with it. Then when you go to carbohydrates, it's about 10 to 15%. So out of every 100 calories, 10 to 15 calories are used in that process of breaking it down. Then when we get to protein, protein is the macronutrient that is the hardest to be broken down by the body. So it's got about a 30% thermic effect of feeding. So that means 30 calories out of every 100 is used just to break it down through the body. So as you can see, each one has got a different percentage, obviously because it's harder to either digest or it's easier to digest. So what happens to the fat? Like I've just said, it's very easily converted to body fat. So if you go into a surplus of calories, your body will use the body fat, the dietary fat that you have eaten and convert that into body fat first. Carbohydrates, when eaten, are converted into glucose. The glucose is stored in your muscles, your brain and your liver as glycogen, and then that is used as your daily energy. Protein, that is converted into amino acids, and then that is used to repair muscles, your hair, your skin, your nails, create new muscle tissue, along with loads of other stuff. So people might think, oh, well, if fat is converted to body fat quite easily, I will drop it quite low in my diet. So any calories over your daily limit that your body needs will be converted to body fat regardless. So fat is important for some fat soluble vitamins. So A, D, E and K are the fat soluble vitamins. So if you don't have enough fat in your diet, then you're not going to be able to process those vitamins. If you're not processing those vitamins, then obviously you become deficient in those. So obviously it's super important to have fat in your diet. If you're wondering what percentages of these macronutrients to have, go back and have a look at my other video, which is which macros to have, and I break down the percentages of what you need in your diet. So carbohydrates, again, people think that they gain weight from carbohydrates. They don't. It's just because they're very easily overconsumed. We all love bread, pasta, but carbohydrates are used as your daily energy source, so it's super important. Anyone that does like a low carbohydrate diet might find that their brain is a little bit foggy, and if you go up one, you'll see that the glucose is stored in the brain. Your brain also runs off carbohydrates, so when you drop low with the carbohydrates, your brain might get a little bit foggy. You might struggle to think or do things on a daily basis because your carbohydrates is too low. So super important to keep them in. Obviously the protein, I've already said, it's used for all those repair processes, creating new muscle tissue. So again, super important to have in your diet. So with the fat, because I did say, that's a thing that's going to be used to convert to body fat, because it is the closest to body fat. For carbohydrates to be converted to body fat, they've got to go through a process called de novo lipogenesis. So that is very hard for the body to do, and it will always store carbohydrates in your muscles if available first before converting to body fat. Same with protein. To convert that to body fat, it's got to go through a process called gluconeogenesis. So it converts the protein into glucose, which is a carbohydrates, and then it obviously goes through that process of de novo lipogenesis to then obviously turn it into body fat. So again, those processes are very hard, the de novo lipogenesis and the gluconeogenesis, which is why your body goes to the body fat. The dietary fat in your body first to obviously convert it, because it's the easiest thing and it's the closest thing. Hopefully I've given you the answers of why you shouldn't cut out any of these, why you shouldn't cut out fat just because it's the easiest converted, why you shouldn't cut out carbohydrates, and why it is super important to have protein in your diet for that thermic effect of feeding, as well obviously the repair processes that it does in your body. They're all super important. Keep a level of each one in your diet. If you've got any questions on this video, if I confused you with anything, feel free to send me a message and I will give you the answers.